Hello, and welcome to Collect Jurassic World. I'm Victoria.
And this is Tim.
And we are your hosts on this adventure through all things Jurassic World.
Hey park goers, welcome back to Collect Jurassic World. It's been a while, but Victoria and I are back at it, collecting news, all the good stuff. So without further ado, let's throw it over to Victoria in the park control room.
Hey Tim, hey park goers. It is so nice to have you back for another episode of Collect Jurassic World. We've been busy over the last month and a half following San Diego Comic-Con. Lots going on, long hours at work, catching colds and being sick and recovering and all sorts of stuff. So,
and collecting toys. We've been collecting lots of toys,
of course,
too.
We can't forget about toys. And we got a lot of information to share today about toys and the latest in all things Jurassic. So, yeah, let's get right down to it.
Cool. Yeah, let's definitely get started. I think our last episode, we definitely went and talked a lot about Primal Attack, which was announced at San Diego Comic-Con. So this time, let's start off with the fact that the toys themselves, or at least a great many of them, are now available for pre-order already. I want to say, too, since we've last recorded, we have been able to get a new look at some of the figures that were just teased at San Diego Comic-Con, mainly I think it's the Control and Conquer Carnotaurus, the repaint of Extreme Chompin' T-Rex, and correct me if I'm saying this wrong, a Tarbosaurus. We were able to see the figures and the figures in their packaging. And that happened, and all of a sudden we could pre-order some of these figures. So pretty exciting stuff. And those pre-orders are available at Entertainment Earth. They might show up eventually somewhere else, but right now they're just at Entertainment Earth. And I think we'll probably go ahead and put the link to those pre-orders in the show notes as well if you want to check them out. But yeah, I mean, a lot of exciting developments in that. In the short time since Comic-Con, we're kind of already seeing what the figures look like, and we can already order them for ourselves.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff. These are some brand new assortments that we've never seen before. I do imagine some of them will be somewhat similar to what we've seen in the past, but we do have things like the Soundstrike assortment. We have things like massive biters. And we also have some new Savage Strikes, which, we've seen those before, but these are brand new species, brand new dinosaurs, some of them repaints. So yeah, lots of stuff popping up on Entertainment Earth. And as of yet, they're the only location that has these for pre-order. And it looks like they'll be due in December. So lots of stuff to look forward to there.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even be surprised if they pop up in store, a little bit before that even. And I couldn't not talk about some of these new figure reveals without mentioning that forever ago, Victoria, we talked about kind of like the Battle of the Rexes, all the Rex figures that Mattel's came out, and like what we liked, what we didn't like, what was our favorite figure. And we definitely touched on how cool it would be to get a Extreme Chompin' T-Rex repainted like a Bite and Fight T-Rex, and that's exactly what was revealed coming our way as part of next year's line, is a Extreme Chompin' T-Rex painted with Bite and Fight colors, and it looks so cool. I mean, it looks like exactly like you'd imagine it to look, but very excited to get that one. It's just cool to get a figure with articulation with those kind of movie accurate paint colors.
Absolutely. I am absolutely stoked for this one. I mean, what do you think about it? It's really nothing new. It's an Extreme Chompin' T-Rex. We've seen plenty of them. We've seen them in a couple different variations. But this is the one that, yeah, as you noted, we talked about it and we thought, this would be the ideal Mattel Jurassic World T-Rex. You take your Extreme Chompin', you put those really awesome, darker tone, more film accurate, maybe not 100%, but more film accurate paint coloration from the Bite and Fight T-Rex on the Extreme Chompin', and that's exactly what they're giving to us. So I like to think maybe they heard that episode, but they probably didn't, but who knows. But yeah, this is really cool, and who knows, maybe we'll get a battle damage. I think that'd be awesome.
Yeah, I think it's worth noting, too, on the packaging, it does not say Legacy Collection on it anywhere, or Battle Damage for that matter. So, I think pretty much every even the casual Jurassic collector probably has a Extreme Chomp and T-Rex at this point, but the fact that they're going to release one that isn't tied to, store exclusivity is pretty cool. So maybe that will be a figure that's kind of available everywhere. I mean, I hope that's the case, because definitely want to get my hands on this one pretty easily if I can.
Totally. And you know what, I do wonder, because we haven't seen any leaks for new T-Rexes coming in 2020 quite yet. What I'm wondering is if maybe they're going to, shelve the Bite and Fight, which, I think at most Targets has already been clearanced out.
Yeah.
I don't think even Walmart's really carrying them anymore, at least around here. The Thrash and Throw, Target still has that one. I don't know that Walmart does. I haven't seen them there in a long time. So I am wondering if maybe this is kind of going to replace both of those. And going forward, at least for 2020, this will be the one T-Rex that will be available on the shelf.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, I hope someday Mattel revisits the T-Rex figure entirely and kind of does something all new. That'd be really cool. Kind of with all they've learned from making Jurassic toys for a few years, I'm sure they could come up with something kind of unique and really cool. Maybe like an improved version of the Thrash and Throw. But even with even more movie accurate colors, I think would be cool. But I just think it's like significant that Mattel is making a second figure in this paint coloration. It's almost like, I don't know, are we going to kind of like shift to be like, that's the new colors of a T-Rex, and that's the kind of merchandise we'll see, not just Kenner or not just Mattel action figures, but maybe other little things like keychains and plush and all that will kind of have this new paint coloration for the T-Rex. Maybe not, but it's just a thought. Noticing that they're kind of doing it again for a second figure.
Right, and I think we'll see an all new T-Rex or 2 or 3 for Jurassic World 3, but I think right now while they're trying to get through 2020, it's not too surprising that they are going to be repainting some stuff. And to me, this just makes sense. Yeah.
Where is Rexy now? And in light of like Jurassic World 3's ending, even like what's the toy going to be? Is it going to be like Forest Hermit T-Rex or something? I just wonder where she's at since the movie, but we'll find out soon enough.
We'll find out.
Yeah. Next up, I think is another kind of more recent reveal. So recent, in fact, that it's, as of this recording, we actually took a look at it today, and that's Amber Collection, the collectible line of figures. We finally got our chance to see the toys and the packaging and everything, and you wrote an article for the site, obviously. So, why don't you tell us about those figures?
Yeah, so we've known since last year that the Amber Collection was coming, although we didn't know that that's what it was going to be called. Now we know it's the Amber Collection. We know that we're getting Dr. Ian Malcolm. We know that we're getting Owen Grady and Velociraptor Blue. We've known that since last year. This year at San Diego Comic-Con, they showed revisions of those figures. So they have streamlined them a bit. They do look better. And we're also getting the classic Jurassic Park Velociraptor. Now, Dr. Malcolm and the JP Raptor are making up Wave 1. They have been on pre-order through GameStop's website since July. With these new images, we're actually getting to see the packaging for the very first time, and it looks pretty cool. I don't know what you think about it, but it's pretty nice. Just the whole amber theme, the whole classic, going back to the beginning, is pretty nice. I'm quite enjoying what they're doing with the packaging, and it's nice to see something a little bit more classic Jurassic Park oriented.
Yeah, totally. And I think, the packaging is very dark and it has a very kind of serious tone. I think in my perfect kind of idea of it, it was more black with like a yellow logo. That's just my personal kind of preference with Jurassic. But I think, they're kind of using the Black series from Star Wars as sort of an inspiration. So to go full black kind of would have been a little bit copycatish. So I appreciate what they did with the dark amber. I think that's really, really kind of playing into the theme a little bit. Amber, gold, premium, I get it. It's all kind of buzzwords. So I definitely appreciate that. And I think it's cool too, just the figure, the box design itself. It's not really like a perfect box. There's kind of this cool faceted angle thing going on, at least in these photos, that kind of, again, gives it a little bit more of a premium feel than your just average straight up box.
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen the more recent Mattel DC Multiverse figures that they're putting out there, but they retail the $20 price point. They actually have very similar packaging. Like the overall shape for the human figures is pretty similar to that, and it's also very irregular. It's not like a perfect rectangle. It's a little bit, it has different angles and such. So perhaps they took inspiration from that, or they had maybe the same team working on the packaging. Who knows? The other really cool thing, Tim, is that we know now that there's also a Velociraptor Charlie on tap. And
Right.
we know that she comes with the headset, something that Blue unfortunately is lacking. Hopefully, if they do round out the Raptor squad, which I think most of us are hoping they'll do that, hopefully they'll find a way to get that headset for Blue as well, because it's going to feel a little incomplete if three of the Raptors have those headsets, but not Blue.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. And I'm pretty sure the cynical part of me says that they'll do the other three Raptors. And then right when they're done with the last Raptor, they'll re-release Blue with the head pack. So we'll have to buy that one.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's how it will work. But, I've never been one to kind of get down on Mattel for, not having perfect coloration for the Raptor squad. But I know that bothers a lot of people. So I respect that opinion. People feel very strongly about how the Raptor coloration is totally wrong for the Raptor squad. And it's all mixed up and backwards. But it sounds like they're going to kind of right that wrong with these figures. Everyone's saying that this Charlie looks very movie accurate, so I think that's good that they're kind of taking it seriously with the collector line. I think it would be a bad omen if their first Raptor Squad figure for their premium collector line was totally off as far as paint goes. So definitely something to look at there.
Yeah, and Charlie looks really good. She's, again, maybe not 100% accurate to the film. It looks like, maybe there's a little bit less detail, which, it is a $25, $30 toy. So, I mean, you can't expect Chronicle collectible level paint applications. Right. But this is a collector-oriented line. It is a larger canvas, so they can add more detail to it than they can on the smaller figures. So she does have a lot more detail than that attack pack Charlie that we got earlier this year. So that is nice to see. I think that the striping and the overall blending on the colors looks pretty good. So if they do round out the Raptor squad with Delta and Echo, here's hoping that they do similarly detailed figures. I think a lot of fans are going to like that.
Yeah, for sure. We have Owen too. Obviously, some of these new pictures had a picture of Owen out of the box. And I really like the kind of articulation that's on display with Owen. He definitely has the signature pose that, holding the Raptors back. And the fact that you can pretty much perfectly recreate it with the figure definitely speaks to the articulation they have in these human figures. I know with Malcolm, we have him holding the flare and kind of laying down and doing like his famous sexy Malcolm pose. But it was cool to see them kind of pose Owen in a similar kind of, iconic way, I should say. So I definitely have high hopes for the articulation. I know with action figures, sometimes you can have a lot of joints and be like, oh, wow, there's a lot of points of articulation here. But then when you go to try to make him do something simple like kneel on the ground and hold a gun, it looks totally unnatural. So here's hoping that that's not a problem with these figures.
I hope so. I know that I recently picked up the DC Multiverse. They did a tribute figure back to the old Toy Biz Batman from 1989, which was my very first Batman action figure back in the day. And this new one is a 6-inch version, and it's basically, you look at it, it has the same accessories of that original figure. So it's definitely a tribute. And as soon as I got it out of the box, I was shooting a review, and the arm broke off. So yeah. I'm hoping, I really feel like this Amber collection has a little bit more writing on it than the DC line. There's slightly higher price points. There's a lot of hype behind it. They've been pushing this as being a collector line. So I don't expect for the figures to have that kind of QC, but ultimately we're not going to know until we get them in hand. But
yeah, let's hope not.
Yeah. But yeah, like you said, high hopes, that everything pans out okay.
I've always kind of personally steered clear of like Nika and all that stuff because it's been a while now. A few years ago, I collected a lot of like video game figures. So I had like God of War figures and Assassin's Creed, and those ones from Nika, they always broke. Like their hands would break off and their arms would break off, and it's like I never did anything with them besides pose them. And I know like I've collected a couple like Alien and Predator figures from not picking on Nika, but just in general, like I feel like hyper articulation kind of opens the door for more stuff that can break basically. So I've never been a big fan of that, and I've always kind of liked my simpler toys, but Super, super excited for these. Obviously, I mean, it's Jurassic Park right out the gate. So definitely hoping that we don't have any of those issues with that. And they're a little more solidly built and not so kind of flimsy and, delicate. But it's worth noting on the package, it says 14 and up, which is kind of funny. So definitely not intended for even like someone close to being a kid. 10-year-olds, sorry, this is not the figure for you.
That's true. Like you said, I mean, NECA does have a lot of QC issues. They have for a long time. I think they've gone a little bit better in recent years, but for a while they were having a lot of issues with joints breaking, and I think that was due to just how stiff they were arriving out of the factory. So I think that's what actually happened with my Batman figure. It was a combination of two things. It was the joint being really stiff, and the other thing was the joints were teeny tiny, like super thin. So it really wasn't surprising that when you combine those two things that, it didn't have enough flex, and when I was putting pressure on it, it snapped. So it really depends, because some companies, like if you look at the Bandai Spirits, like the Tamashii Nations, the SH Figure Arts, those are solid through and through. I've never had problems with the joints. They're fully articulated and they're awesome, but they're also quality, $50 figures. Black Series has also been pretty reliable. I think I've only had one figure where an arm, came detached, but those are also, pretty similar. I think with those, it's mostly due to the joints being a little bit thicker, so it's less of a concern. But yeah, I mean, I'm really hoping that that's not going to be an issue. And, once those first reviews start hitting, once we get them in hand and checking them out, we'll have a better idea. But from what I can see in the pictures, it doesn't look like they have those really skinny joints. But again, we've only seen the pictures, beefy. Really. Yeah, they do. So, here's hoping that once we have them in hand, we'll know for sure that they are solid, because that's obviously what we want.
Yeah. Another cool little detail, I mentioned the 14 and up on the packaging, but another thing I kind of like going back to the box is it's called the Amber Collection. It's not called the Jurassic World Amber Collection, which we know everything under the sun is Jurassic World kind of titled now, even when it's like straight up Jurassic Park. Even the Legacy Collection is Jurassic World. So I think it's cool that they chose to just go with the Amber Collection. And then if you go look at the box images themselves, it'll say like Ian Malcolm or Velociraptor, and underneath it it'll say Jurassic Park for the movie they're from, which I think is like brilliant. I think that's like such a great idea, because you can kind of speak to all the movies and you're not getting some of that weird confusion where it's like, oh, I bought this super collectible Jurassic Park Velociraptor, but for some reason there's a giant Jurassic World logo on it. So I really appreciate that they didn't do that. And I also appreciate the fact that they just like kept the packaging clean. They didn't throw some ugly T-Rex render or, Owen Grady on there. Like, they kept it clean, and they made it about the not even a Jurassic logo. They went with the T-Rex, which is definitely very iconic Jurassic logo in and of itself.
Sure.
Definitely not discrediting that, but they didn't try to like make some sort of weird Jurassic World, Jurassic Park kind of like, one size fits all logo. They just kept it simple, which, as for me with kind of like my background, I think that there's something very beautiful about the Amber Collection branding that they kind of figured out.
Absolutely. And that goes back to what I was saying earlier about, just the very classic look to the aesthetic they chose for the packaging.
Yeah.
So another thing I want to bring up is that we're seeing 3 different repaints of the same raptor. So I know that's a concern. Are they going to keep repainting this raptor? Obviously, we want the whole raptor squad, but we also want to see other dinosaurs in this small dinosaur scale, because they could obviously do things like Dilophosaurus, Gallimimus, Pachycephalosaurus, Sticky Moloch. So I hope that it's going to be, a fair mix of the different dinosaurs, not just raptor, for different consecutive waves.
Yeah.
We do want more raptors. We want a Lost World raptor. We want even some JP3 raptors. Why not? But we definitely want other dinosaurs too. And we haven't seen any yet. So I kind of feel like maybe the first few waves are going to be raptors, but I don't know. We don't have a lot of information yet. So here's hoping that, we're going to see those other species as well.
Yeah, I kind of look at something like Snap Squad from Mattel, and like, they kind of play it safe the first wave, and even the second wave, they do a couple repaints in the Snap Squad, but we know that there's like more Snap Squad coming. There's a Baryonyx and a Mosasaur way back. We got like really blurry pictures of these. There's a Spinosaur coming in that line, so it's like the first 2 waves are very much like safe characters. reusing molds, kind of getting things kind of up and running and established, and then they kind of branch out and do some new stuff in the later waves. So really hope that's the case here. I feel like we've heard some rumors and seen some early, concept art. So we know that it's in the cards for the Amber collection to do more dinosaurs, and obviously probably more human figures too. So we'll just kind of have to wait and see. But it's cool to get this first peek on the whole collection already, and it's just around the corner. So it'll, like you said, we'll have them in our hands, and we can really, nerd out on them at that point.
Yeah, totally. All right, so as we get into asset tracking, we want to see what the latest finds are in the Jurassic World collecting universe. So, Tim, recently this Malcolm story pack that had shown up in a Target system a few months back started making its way online in other countries. So where exactly has that been found so far?
I think the Malcolm story pack is only been found in Mexico. I haven't been kind of keeping my thumb on the pulse as I normally do with some of the other rare figures, because I'm not like that interested in a pack that's just repacks. But I guess for the uninitiated here, Legacy story packs are Jurassic World Legacy Collection 2 packs that were slated for Target release. We already saw Alan Grant and JP3 Raptor, and then a Robert Muldoon and a Raptor, Crouching Raptor, with those like slightly repainted. Those never came to the U.S. and they started to pop up in Chile and Colombia and a couple other places. But they never actually came here. So for all intents and purposes, they were canceled. And then we saw, like you said, a picture of this Malcolm story pack, which I 100% would have put money on, like, oh, that's canceled. They obviously, that's never coming out. They already canceled these other figures and kind of distributed them in other countries. So surely they never made Malcolm and the Raptor. But here it is, the Malcolm and Raptor story pack. It's, again, it's repacks. It's the Ian Malcolm figure with no flare. And I guess the crouching or the jumping Raptor, the Legacy Collection kind of Lost World Tiger Stripe Raptor. So just a straight repack, and yeah, showing up in Mexico. So, I personally am a completionist, so I gotta have it. But if I wasn't, I would have no interest in this. It's literally repacks. There's nothing new about them. Like, it's not even like, Ian Malcolm's watch is a different color. It's like there's nothing with these. They're literally just repacked figures that are expensive because you have to import them into our country. So worth noting, but nothing too fun. And as far as like, international toy spottings go, we got one more here, we have a few more, I guess. But Snap Squad, we were just talking about Snap Squad. So, the second wave still hasn't hit the U.S. The first wave has barely hit the U.S. I think we've seen it in Meyer stores and Fred Meyer, and hasn't really hit any of the major retailers like Target or Walmart, which I really think is going to change closer to the holidays. But that first wave is hard to find, but the second wave has already hit in a couple other places in Europe. The second wave being made up of Dilophosaurus, blanking here, Dilophosaurus, T-Rex, like the green and black T-Rex that we saw the Legacy Collection, kind of the buck T-Rex. And then we have a kind of pearlescent holographic Indominus that's supposed to be sort of his cloaking version. And then what am I missing here? I said Dilophosaurus, Indominus, and T-Rex. Do I have to literally walk over and look at these things to see what I missed? Hold on.
Yes.
And Carnotaurus. Yes, Carnotaurus. How could I forget that? That's the coolest one. So it's got the paint job just like the Mattel figure. So that's the new wave. And yeah, showing up in European countries. Our good friend, Tom Jurassic, was lucky enough to find them, and he shipped them my way. So I have a few of them. I'm still missing the Rex, but I love the Snap Squad. They're cute. I think they have like a real solid quality to them,
Yeah, that's they look pretty cute. I haven't been the biggest fan of Snap Squad, but I know a lot of people like it, and I know our friend Brad over on Jurassic Park podcast, his little one is a huge fan of these. So, a lot of people do like them quite a bit, and they are fun when you see like the toy photography using them. I think that's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a market for them. Like we've said before, not everything has to be for everybody. It's totally okay if you focus on one segment and not another. And that's kind of what these are. They're targeting a different audience. And even if you're a fan of pretty much everything in this line, some people like them as well. So I'm glad that they're continuing to spin those out.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's really cool you mentioned the toy photography part of it. I've seen some really creative shots, like paired with vehicles or, paired with like the same figure, but the Mattel mainline figure. And it's kind of like this big giant baby in the picture. But I think there's just a lot of cool stuff people do with them. And obviously kids love them too. It makes me think I should probably share mine with my kids, but I probably won't until I find an extra pair in the store. But yeah, they're cool, and it's cool they're doing more species, and there's definitely more species to come. Our last little international sighting, I shouldn't say little because it's a bigger figure and one that people are really excited for, is the battle damaged Spinosaur. It's got some wild colors, but this really cool battle damage feature where you can clip off the side skin, and there's a rib cage that you can flip down, and then you press a button on the fin and you can spin like this liquid blood ball. Bizarre, but very cool. And the figure's been spotted in Brazil. So I think we saw someone on Instagram who actually bought the figure, but I've actually seen photos since of it on the shelves there. So Brazil's getting it first. If you don't know by now, as far as exclusivity goes, like in the US, Battle Damage is in Walmart. You're not going to find it anywhere else. Legacy Collection was only at Target, and now it's nowhere. But in other countries, the exclusivity is kind of like, the Wild West. They might not have even, negotiated any exclusivity in a lot of these countries. So you'll see Battle Damage figures in, multiple stores and other places. So that's the case here. But hopefully it means that Battle Damage Spinosaur isn't far behind.
Yeah, I can't see that it is. I mean, if it's already hitting in international markets like the Brachiosaurus is, then all that can mean is that it's inbound for us here in the U.S. And unfortunately, we sometimes have to wait extra months, like we have for the Brachiosaurus. I mean, it's been out like 2 months now in other places. Yeah. And here we are just kind of twiddling our thumbs here in the U.S. Not everything is perfect for U.S. collectors. I know some people think that. It's not true. We do miss out on some things as well, and we are late to the party on some things also. These are a few items that are certainly unavailable in the U.S. And going back to that Malcolm pack, it's so weird. I mean, I'm really surprised they didn't do anything with. I'm surprised that it's a Savage Strike Raptor. Why not another attack pack like the other two? It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But maybe that's why they didn't do anything to the Raptor, because Savage Strike's a little more expensive. I don't know, but either way, it's just such a curiosity, and I kind of feel like I need one, just to have it in its box because of how weird it is.
Yeah, they're kind of cool boxes, honestly, but yeah, it's weird. I understand even reusing the Raptor because the paint job is there, but I like what they did with Alan in the other story pack where they changed his pant color. Heyo, all new figure, got different colored pants. But I feel like they could have done something slight like that with Ian Malcolm. Yeah, I don't know what, but they could have done something.
They could have done that. They could have also maybe thrown in from one of the legacy packs, like the green Raptor, the blue Raptor instead, or blue Raptor, the brown Raptor instead.
Yeah.
Would have been.
Yeah, but like you said, it's just a curiosity, even if it's not any kind of like new valuable figure. That's collecting for you, though. It's not always about like, I really like this toy. Sometimes it's just like, this is very interesting, or it's canceled, or it's a country exclusive, and I have to have it. So I think this one definitely falls into that category.
You don't know if it's the yellow-eyed or the green-eyed variant of that Raptor, do you?
Oh no, I don't. I don't even know. I know those kinds of like variants exist across a few Mattel figures, but I try not to think about them because then it kind of like it's like, oh, do I need to get both of them? Do I need? But yeah, it's like, where does it end?
Exactly. All right. So another thing here in asset tracking we want to cover is what's actually hitting in the U.S. So there are a few things. The first thing we want to bring up are the attack packs. Mononychus, Dimorphodon, and Velociraptor Echo. I know these have been hitting in the U.S. for the past month or so. We haven't had a chance to cover them on the show for asset tracking, so we wanted to talk a little bit about them. They are being found. They are being found at Target. I'm not aware of them hitting Walmart. Have you heard of them hitting anywhere else, Tim?
Just Walgreens, but yeah, okay. Target, and like literally one case pack. Like, you're not going to walk into Target and find a bunch of them. It's going to be, you're going to walk into Target and maybe see the full wave, the full like case for a day, and then they're going to start getting bought up. But yeah, and then Walgreens as well. And I think Walgreens are pretty much across the country. So I know I personally have seen them pop up in one Walgreens and here in the Chicago area. I've checked more than I'm willing to admit on air, but there's only one Walgreens that I've seen them at. So it's not even like it's a sure thing, widespread kind of distribution. Walgreens is very interesting, that the way that they stock toys and, restock and what they have. Like, in my travels this month looking for these figures, I've seen figures from like wave 2 of Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, like the Staggy Moloch, like in package, from that like wave more than a year ago, probably at this point. And then I've seen, some recent waves like Clearus, and then I've saw the newest of new waves. So it's just funny, like some Walgreens don't ever get the figures bought, so they just have the old figures there. So if you're looking for older figures, that's a tip for you, but they are a little pricier at Walgreens. They're like $10 here. I've seen them $8 or $9 in other places. So not a great alternative, but they're out there.
So also the dual attack Triceratops. This is one we've known since Toy Fair would be on the horizon. This is the Lost World tribute, the canceled Kenner the Lost World Triceratops. It has basically that paint scheme where it's like this really light grayish blue color. And some images kind of made it seem like it was going to be darker than that. But now that we actually have them in hand, now that they're shipping from Amazon, we see that they are in fact, that light blue grayish color. They are available through Amazon, as I noted, but they are out of stock at the moment. It's kind of weird because they let you pre-order it in some cases, but they don't really know when they're going to get them. So they give you these really like far out estimates, like November, December. So
yeah, it's bizarre.
It is. And it recently came to light that Macy's is also offering the Triceratops. You can actually pre-order or actually order it and have it shipped to your store through Macy's.com, which is a very interesting development, but it's nice to have that extra option. Yeah,
no, it is. And it's always kind of a little bit of like a gamble when you order things from Amazon, and people are always like, oh, I don't know if I should pre-order or whatever. I mean, you have nothing to lose because they don't charge you until they actually ship the item. So if you ever see anything on Amazon and it's like, ships in 2030, like just pre-order it. You have nothing to lose, and if they move up the ship date, you'll get the figure. If they never ship it, you'll never get charged until the figure is literally on its way to you. So I always kind of keep that in mind when I tell people about Amazon. It's like, I mean, just do it out of abundance of caution. Even if you like to hunt toys, I mean, we all like to hunt toys. Like, you have nothing to lose from pre-ordering from Amazon, just to make sure you get it. Yeah. Because in today's day and age, like, distribution is so weird.
Right.
Yes, this Triceratops is readily available on Amazon for the most part, but who knows when it'll show back up in store. I mean, I could tell you Dual Attack, I don't even think they carry it at Walmart right now. Target just got the Battle at Big Rock kind of wave of that, so it's like, who knows when it'll show up in store. So like, why not order it online?
Yeah, definitely worth it for some peace of mind. The worst they can do is cancel your order, which has happened in the past, but they've been a little better about that. The other thing we want to mention is the Mega Dual Attack Amargasaurus. That is shipping from Amazon as well. It started shipping a few weeks back. I think we pre-ordered this one back in April, and they've kind of been shipping it out in small bursts. So some people got some, a week or two ago, then a few more people got them, and then I got mine, a little bit later, because that's, the way that it usually works out for me. But yeah, they are shipping, and it's the same deal with the Triceratops. I think you could still pre-order it, but you're going to be waiting a little bit to receive it.
Yeah, and again, even if it has 4 months out, 3 months out, they could always move it up. Seems to be the case with the Triceratops. But yeah, it's cool that we're getting some figures here that, that we're kind of with international releases in mind. There's some new stuff here for us to track down, if not in person, online. And if you're interested in these figures, I think the attack packs are available on Amazon too. So we can throw those. We can throw kind of a general link in the show notes to kind of point you in the right direction to find those figures too.
Yep, and also available on Target.com.
Oh right, yeah, here and there, right?
Here and there.
let's take a step into our trophy room. This part of the show, we definitely want to be talking about all the cool toys that we've personally tracked down in our collections recently, probably since the last time we recorded the show. So a lot of the figures we just talked about in asset tracking are now in our hands, and we can speak to those. First one I guess we'll talk about is this Triceratops, the Lost World canceled Triceratops spiritual successor, the new dual attack Triceratops from Mattel, with this sort of grayish bluish paint scheme. Kind of funny. It's like, is it gray? Is it blue? It kind of depends on how you take a picture of it, what light you're under it. But having the figure in hand, I mean, it looks beautiful no matter what color you call it. I didn't. When I saw it at Toy Fair, it must have been like a mock-up or something, because I wasn't like, it was cool, but I was like, oh, it's a little too vibrant for me. But the final figure, now that we have it, definitely feels a little bit more natural feeling. I really like it. It kind of reminds me of like, this is kind of a weird comparison, but it reminds me of like a Jurassic Park Triceratops that I would draw when I was a kid. Like, give me some markers and this is what I would have drawn, these colors. So I really appreciate that about it. Great figure. I have to mention though, like, one of the things that bugs me about Mattel Triceratops is, as opposed to some of their other kind of Ceratopsian figures,
here it comes,
is the painted horns. Drives me crazy because I like my figures to be clean without paint scratches or scuff marks or things like that. So a figure like the Nasutoceratops, the horns for that are molded plastic, so it doesn't matter how often you rub those on the cardboard in the box, like, they're going to stay the same color because that's the color of the plastic. Whereas Triceratops, the horns are painted, so in shipping, in transit to your house, even just on this toy shelf at the store, they get dinged up, they get rubbed. It's pretty much impossible to find a Triceratops that's going to have horns that are kind of like in pristine condition. So definitely kind of a nitpicky thing, but if you're a very intense collector, a very like perfectionist like me, that kind of stuff bothers you. So I have to mention it with this Triceratops because it seems like kind of a problem again.
Toy collectors are some of the most OCD people out there. We know full well that these are mass-produced toys, basically, pretty inexpensive, but, we still want to get the best we can. So it's not uncommon for ourselves or, certain people that we know, Tim, that, will order like 10 of them to try and get that one perfect one.
Exactly.
Yeah. This one's been really hard to find with good paint. I mean, I've only received 2, and Tim, you know what happened with mine. I posted this on social media as well, but I actually got one with a hole in its leg. Yeah,
that's weird. I've had that happen on, or maybe not figures I own, but figures I've seen with like kind of like caved in hollow plastic in a couple places. That's definitely a weird defect. I mean, I think the paint stuff that we talk about is like, most people aren't noticing that, the horns rubbed off, but like a hole in the leg, like that's got to be pretty rare to find that, but definitely disheartening.
Yeah, luckily I had ordered 2 from Amazon when I did that pre-order back in April, I think, and but unfortunately they shipped them with them kind of just rubbing up on each other. So one of them, the one with the hole in its leg had like the frill was kind of rubbed off of some paint, and luckily the other one actually looks pretty good. So, obviously I contacted Amazon, said, hey, I'd like an exchange. Fortunately, they couldn't do that because the exchange, they wanted to set it up as an exchange, but it was like, I think at that time it was due in late November. I'm like, that's a long time. So I said, just go ahead and cancel my replacement, give me a refund. And they're like, okay, you can go ahead and keep it, by the way. So I was like, oh, okay. So now my poor trike with the little hole in its leg is relegated to toy photography duty.
And it's kind of cool to get a couple of these Triceratops too. So you came out on top there. I feel like even if you have a holy leg, he can be in the background, right? So
or I'll just turn it to the other side. But so you know what, Tim? I hadn't noticed it before, but when I look at these trikes, I hadn't really realized how malnourished they look. Like, especially when you look at them from the top, they just look really skinny.
Let me look at this. I mean, they do feel a little bit less beefy than like a classic Jurassic Park Triceratops, but I guess they have those animals on a very like strict lean diet in Jurassic World.
I like
maybe
berries.
That's what accounts for their Yeah. No lilac berries, just hay or something. But no, they do look a little streamlined, I guess. But again, the paint coloration they brought to this latest release at least makes it feel a little bit more connected with the original movie. So that's what's really cool about this one.
Yes, it's my favorite too.
I don't know. Yeah, for sure. I don't know if we're gonna get one that's more accurate to the first movie. So I really appreciate now with the Brachiosaurus, and we have a Dilophosaurus that's got the kind of film accurate coloration. We kind of have a trike to add to the stead with the Bite and Fight T-Rex and all that really feels like a Jurassic Park Triceratops, even if he's very skinny. It looks like a Jurassic Park Triceratops.
It does. It's really nice. I like the colors quite a bit. So we also have the Mega Dual Attack Amargasaurus. We've both added this to our collections in recent weeks. I haven't taken mine out of its packaging yet, but I do want to ask you what you think of it.
Yeah, I got mine out. I like it. A lot of people really like this figure. It's not my personal favorite. I think what I really like about Dino Rivals is kind of the wild colors and some of the more vibrant things. And there's a little bit of that at play in this figure. It has these really wild neck ridges, or like a neck sail, and there's some red painted in there, but it's still kind of a duller paint scheme compared to the rest of the Dino Rivals figures. And when we saw that silhouette of the Amargasaur, more than a year ago at San Diego Comic-Con, when they first teased the figure, in my head I was imagining something that was just like wild. And I guess I kind of feel like, oh, it's a great figure, but it's a little dull for my tastes. But I mean, I can't discredit Mattel for kind of releasing another, larger sauropod, the Brachiosaurus, and then we have like the Mosaurus, who's smaller, but like we're already getting another one. Whereas, we've been for those of us who've been collecting Jurassic toys for years. I mean, I think the first figure we got like this was a Attack Brachiosaur for Jurassic Park 3, but that was it. So the fact that we're kind of in 1 year getting 3 new high quality large sauropod figures 2. I shouldn't say Mosaurus is a large sauropod, but it is one. It's cool to get in that regard. Like Amargasaurus definitely checks that box, like this kind of unique herbivore surrounded by all these other carnivores we get, bipedal carnivores especially. So having something that's on 4 legs and is a little bulkier is really cool, and kind of like all of the silhouettes on my shelf of all the figures.
Yeah, totally. That Mosaurus is like the perfect like prey dinosaur.
Yeah, he's just made to get destroyed, basically. Made to get eaten.
Yes, yeah. Absolutely. Have your toys eating the Mosaurus. That's
right. But the Amargasaur can defend itself. It's got like a pretty lackluster tail swipe, but it's got one hell of a headbutt. So if you're a raptor, that thing can just smash into you with its head. So that's the dual attack feature that it has. But I kind of like I did a little review for it on my YouTube channel, and I kind of like was saying like, well, maybe it's like kind of lowering its head to get petted by a handler or eat a bush, but it could also just be like smacking things with its face too. But he's got a real friendly look on his face, similar to the Mosaurus, so he might be destined for carnivore fodder too.
Yeah, he might, or she might, whatever it is. But yeah, I agree. It's a really great looking toy. I know that this, for me, it's been a really exciting one. Like, I didn't even know about this species before, I think 2015. That's when, Target sells the Terra by Batat dinosaurs.
Oh, yeah.
The Dan LaRusso collection, Dan LaRusso, unfortunately, he passed a couple years ago, and they never finished releasing his repaints for that line. But, yeah, that was the very first time I ever saw a Amargasaurus, which was in that line. It's a fun one. So
yeah, I have that figure.
Yeah, it's a good one, isn't it? It's little, but it's nice.
And I feel like that paint coloration's a little more like exciting to me. If they had put something like that on the Mattel figure, I would have gotten into that a little more. There's just something about the base body color that I just feel like could be a little more exciting. But it's Mattel. Maybe we'll see a more exotic repaint one day, and I can get excited about that. But A for effort for sure. No complaints. Just would like to see a better paint coloration.
Yeah, and also a little bit better QC, because I know that we've seen several of them where, you push the button on the back and it has a really squeaky neck joint. Mine is certainly like that. I also don't like how the neck, like the button to activate the neck, it's kind of soft. So when you push down on the spikes, they bend, and I kind of feel like I'm going to ruin it or damage the paint or something. So,
well, the one thing about the spikes is they're like a separate formed plastic, right? They're not painted, are they? I thought that they were kind of like all throughout the figure, sort of separately formed plastic, which again, kind of going back to the Triceratops, I was like, oh, this is cool. Like, this will keep these from getting, too damaged up and keep them kind of looking more crisp from the rest of the figure. Mm-hmm. So,
but they still
hopefully
bend a
they're
lot.
not like, they do bend a lot, but yeah, I didn't even really think about that. I mean, that's my opinion. Is I when I was hitting the button, I guess I didn't really notice that it bent. And I've had, mine doesn't have any kind of squeaky joint issue, so it's definitely one of those figures that feels like, as far as like paint stuff goes, it's less susceptible to sort of like weird paint issues.
Sure.
So we see a lot with the toys. So that's one good thing about it. So hopefully the next squeaking thing is, sometimes, you wake up one day and you do it to the figure and it doesn't do it anymore. Maybe it'll fix itself, or maybe it's just something that's not going to be that widespread. So we'll just have to see.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to see. The other
large figure though, it's a big figure. I think that we should mention that too. It's big,
it's sizable.
Even though it's a Mega Dual Attack, and we have other Mega Dual Attack figures like the Suchomimus and the Quetzalcoatlus. Like, this thing is a lot of plastic.
Right.
So from that regard, it's like, yes, you're paying the same $19.99 for the figure, but you're getting like more bang for your buck because it's just such a beefy toy.
Yeah, this one I think is worth every penny of that $20 price point. The Quetzalcoatlus, hell no, but this one, yes.
Hey, I like the Quetzalcoatlus.
I do
think
too,
it's cool.
but
it's
for $20?
It's one of my favorite figures this year. Yeah.
It should have been a dual attack.
Yeah, they probably would have made it smaller, though. And one of the things I like about it is that it's so big. So leave it alone. I like that figure.
It is a fun one. Say its name.
It's Quetzalcoatlus. Quetzalcoatlus.
Better. We'll accept that one.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
So another thing we want to talk about is the attack packs. We did mention them in asset tracking. We have since added them to our collections. And this is a fun wave. I like it quite a bit.
Yeah, we got a couple repaints here, so we'll get those out of the way. We have I always get the raptor names confused. This one is Echo, Velociraptor Echo.
What'd you
say?
It's a
repaint of the crouching. Is it what? Is it Echo?
Oh, I thought I heard an echo. Go ahead.
Oh, nice. No, Velociraptor Echo, repaint of the crouching raptor. It's actually kind of a cool repaint. We talked earlier about the Legacy Collections Raptor. It was like a very slight repaint. This one has a really cool like green coloration. It's sort of like I wouldn't say muted. It's just it's got a different kind of saturation from the other green raptor. And it completes our Raptor pack, our inaccurate Raptor pack, but now we have Delta, Charlie, Echo, and Blue. It's kind of funny though because Delta and Charlie are more or less the same pose. Charlie's got a little bit like very slight different leg kind of sculpt, but they're basically the same figure. And if you're counting attack pack figures, Blue is also the same pose. So Echo here is kind of the odd man out. It's or the odd woman out rather. It's a crouching raptor, and it's the only one like that, but it doesn't bother me. My personal raptor pack, like on my shelf that I have set up, is the new Savage Strike Blue, and then Charlie and Delta, and then this Echo. So that kind of feels more varied to me when you kind of use a different blue figure for your blue. So nice little figure.
I actually like this Echo better than Charlie or Delta. Like, I don't know.
Wow.
I know we don't like that sculpt a whole lot, but for whatever reason, this paint scheme on this sculpt is like way better than that green one.
Yeah, no, I like it too. I like the back stripe too. The way that it's kind of that back stripe is even a different like pattern than the other crouching raptor.
Yes.
So they definitely revisited that too. So I'd say, not that we're getting into like what raptor is my favorite, but I really like Charlie. I think that was a nice paint coloration on that figure, and like the kind of slight adjustment they made to its leg helps the raptor kind of stand up more. So I like that about it, but this new one's definitely a welcome addition, being kind of a different pose. So
yes,
it's probably my second favorite.
And another welcome addition would be a new raptor sculpt for the Attack Pack line.
Yeah, that would be great. Especially something, we see those raptors, the Battle Damage Raptor and the Savage Strike, the new blue Raptor. Those are really nice sculpts. So hopefully we'll be seeing them kind of reuse those, but maybe there's a way to kind of tool those down to an Attack Pack, because they just have a really nice head sculpt, very like classic, simple raptor. Something about these Attack Pack figures, especially because this mold has been around since the first wave. I think we've all kind of seen the Mattel line experiment with different like styles, kind of, and this raptor is great. I mean, we have a million repaints of it, but it is a little stylized, whereas like something like the Battle Damage Velociraptor sculpt feels a little bit more true to the movie. So there's something that they could kind of adapt there.
Right. Yeah, and no, it's neat. The Dimorphodon, we haven't seen our friend the Dimorphodon in some time, have we?
No, I think I don't think we've seen it at all this year. So
it is nice to have it back. I don't mind. I know some of them they've repainted or repacked like right away. This one has kind of earned its repaint.
Yeah.
And it's a nice repaint too. I like the approach they took, with the darker red and the gray, and I think it's probably going to be one of the better ones that they've done so far for the Dimorphodon.
Yeah, I really like the insides of the wings. It's kind of wild. Sometimes you try to think like, if this was a real living dinosaur, like how would it have this coloration? I kind of think that's cool with these wings. Like, is it feathers or is it just like cool, striping? I just like what they did. I think some of the other Dimorphodons are very simple in their paint application. There is that one that it was like, a second or third wave last year that has like very vibrant, like orange inside wings, which is cool. But this one, has that red coloration on the body too, that I think, we kind of have this whole lava subset of Jurassic World Mattel figures. We have like a red raptor, kind of a darker sort of volcano Proceratosaurus, and then we have this nice dark red Dimorphodon. So we kind of have like this whole take on that sort of like landscape. So I kind of looked at it from that way too.
Yeah, it's definitely nicely done. And then we have the infamous Mononicus.
Yeah, I love this figure. I think it's awesome. I actually have 3 open already, and I don't have 3 of any figures in my collection unless you count like subtle re-releases like Extreme Chomp and T-Rex. But I was instantly like in love with this figure. Real talk, I'm not like a champion of feathers on dinosaurs for like, dinosaurs need to have feathers. Jurassic Park dinosaurs should have feathers. I'm an old school dino fan, so I like dinosaurs with no feathers. I love the new kind of paleontological. Whoa, this is going to be a hard word for me to say. Is that even a word?
Paleontological.
Paleontological. I really love the new paleontological takes on dinosaurs with lots of feathers and plumes, or plumage, furry, all that stuff. And this Mononicus, it definitely honors that more than sort of traditional Jurassic figure designs. You have it. I think you just got it, right? You haven't opened it out of the package, though.
No, it just came today from Amazon. I had ordered it again, I think in April. And I pre-ordered 2 for whatever reason. One came today, the other one's coming like next week or something. But
yeah, that's weird.
It is weird. They might have been separate orders, but I did them at the same time. But that's still kind of weird. But yeah, so I've run into this wave at Target a couple times now, but each time I go, they only have Echo and they have the Dimorphodon. They haven't had Mononicus. I think part of the reason for that, it seems like it's packed just 1 per case, whereas Echo, I think there's like 3 of them, and the Dimorphodon.
Of course.
I don't know how many are of the Dimorphodon in there, maybe 1 or 2, but
I think it's just 1.
Okay, so maybe it's the fact that this is a brand new species and
definitely
kids see it and they think it looks fun, because it absolutely does look fun. And I haven't taken it out of the packaging like you noted, but I do agree. I have it in my hands right now. It looks awesome. I mean, I don't like that the teeth aren't painted. That really bugs the heck out of me, but everything else about it is quite great. Like it's very unique. I love like the very bird-like quality of its skin. It kind of looks like when you take a bird and not that I've ever done this, but when you take a bird and you pluck out all its feathers, like, when you see like chicken, like at the store,
Yeah, right.
Like it kind of has that bumpy sort of skin to it. And then the feathers. So, very avian-like.
Yeah, it's got like feathers on its arms and they're like tucked back like little chicken wings.
It looks like it's doing the chicken dance.
Yeah, it's got like chicken feet too. They're like painted yellow, very bright. And that's why I think it flies off the shelves, because it's like you look at it and you're like, that is a lot of fun. Very colorful. Yeah. And the tail kind of has like a Archaeopteryx sort of like fanned out approach with the feathers. So it's a really, really cool sculpt.
It is.
And if you're buying multiples, it articulates kind of in a cool variety where you can have like one kind of pecking at the ground. Yes, pecking. That's what I imagine this dinosaur is doing. And you can have like one at full alert, kind of looking out over the landscape, and then kind of another one in a neutral pose. So it's definitely kind of for a basic attack pack figure with basic articulation, you can do a lot of fun stuff with it. So had to open a few. I want to mention, if you can look at the one in your hands, it doesn't actually have hands, and I looked at like illustrations on the internet of this species. It's kind of got like a one claw for a hand, like literally like one finger. It's really interesting. I don't know if that's like 100% supported by the fossil record, or like they found a partial skeleton and they think that's what this this species hand looks like. But it's kind of like a proto bird in a way, where the wing is slowly. The clawed hand slowly becomes a one claw, slowly becomes a wing. I thought that was kind of a neat kind of like halfway point evolutionary that they've kind of put into this figure.
Yeah, that is really interesting, and I'm really glad you mentioned that, Tim, because I actually have here with me the Dave Silva Beast of the Mesozoic Mononicus. I'm looking at it right now. And it looks like it has the same thing. It just has like one claw, like on the end of its hand.
Yeah.
That's weird.
It's very interesting.
I had never noticed that.
Yeah, it's almost like a fin, but it's a claw, obviously. But yeah, when I first noticed it, I was like, oh, that's kind of lazy that they just like made all the fingers one finger. But then the more I looked at it, I was like, oh no, this is like a sickle claw. So then I looked up the figure, or looked up the species, and I was like, oh wow, that's kind of what they think it looked like. So again, this dinosaur is just that much more bird-like. And again, like, I'm a fan of old school dinosaurs, but something about this I really like, and I hope they do more figures sort of kind of embracing feathers a little bit. Like, I don't want a big fluffy T-Rex, but like, I'm okay with kind of wading into the feathered waters.
Yeah, I think as long as it's done, sparingly. Obviously, the Jurassic franchise feathers aren't really a thing unless you sort of count the JP3 raptors. But I mean, for species that we didn't see in the film, it's like, why not? I mean, it makes sense to me. This is a good one. I like the redneck that it has too. And, the eyes pretty nicely done.
Oh yeah. I totally forgot about that. This thing just becomes more chicken-like every detail. It's got like what is that called? A gizzard?
No, a gobbler.
A gobbler? Oh, well, anyway, it's such a cool detail. Again, like, you have to think when they're producing these figures, they're so kind of not stingy, but they're very like economical with like, we're going to use this paint to, highlight this. Like, and to your point, they didn't paint the teeth. They didn't bother doing that. But the fact that they went and painted this gobbler, as you called it, I think that's like such a cool little touch.
It is. And like everything about it just looks fun, other than the teeth not being painted. I mean, the silhouette, the way that its tail kind of arches. I think whoever sculpted this, I need to figure out who did it, but whoever sculpted it definitely put a lot of love into it. You can tell.
Yeah, I love it.
It's great. And I agree. I'm going to need a couple more for sure. Well, I have one coming in, and my pal Toy Shiz picked one up for me. And I think we're going to try and connect this weekend so I can get the other one from him. And then, I'll have a nice little flock of them too.
Yeah, and I was like nerding out about like this dinosaur species itself and like where it lived and what other dinosaurs it kind of shared the environment with. And Mononicus was hunted by Tarbosaurus, which is one of the carnivores we're getting for primal attack. So definitely some cool photo opportunities there.
Yeah.
I always kind of appreciate that. I generally like when I'm like, putting all my toys on my shelf and thinking about them, I'm thinking about them from like a Jurassic Park cloned and brought to the real world sort of mentality of how I put them on the shelf and where I put them. But the more species Mattel delivers, like the more I'm like, oh, I'm not just collecting a Jurassic Park figure now, I'm collecting a dinosaur figure. And Mononicus is one of the first figures where I really thought about that, because it's just such a radical different design than we're used to. So that's when I started to kind of look up the actual species and learn more about it, which if a grown man's doing that, I'm hoping some kids are doing that too, and kind of getting inspired to look at like dinosaurs themselves and not just the big scary lizards from the cool movie I watched.
Right. And this Mononicus, like when it goes in stock at Target, it like sells out like before you even get the notification. It's insane.
Yeah, no, it's a popular figure, and I think we see that whenever they release a brand new sculpt, it's the more popular figure. But novelty aside, I really hope that this one's just popular because it's cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. Other than that, I don't think that I've personally added anything else to my collection. There hasn't been a ton to buy other than the items we've been mentioning, which is fine with me because there's a lot of Star Wars that's been coming out, and so I don't mind having a slight break. There's still product, right, for Jurassic, but it's not quite as heavy as it was in the earlier part of the year right now.
No, it's nice to have a little bit of a break for sure.
Yeah, but I think there was something else you recently added to your collection, wasn't there?
Yeah, I got tired of being patient on my Amazon order for the Savage Strike Plesiosaur. I ordered it on Amazon forever ago, and it just got pushed back today. Like, it was like going to deliver September 10th, and then I think they pushed it back to like they don't know when now, which is kind of funny. But they did that with the Margosaur and Triceratops too, so I'm not worried. But anyway, yeah, I got impatient and ended up connecting with another collector across the world in Malaysia, John, and his Instagram tag is John's Jurassic Journeys. And I got to shout him out because he sent me this really nice card, kind of greetings from Malaysia, and, about connecting with another collector. So I thought that was really cool. I do a lot of fun trades. I traded an Albertosaur in this case, but it was really nice of him to send a card. And he sent some other little Jurassic figures that they were like little figurines from cups that were like in a movie theater that I didn't have. So really cool kind of sentiment that he sent over. But yeah, also sent over the figure that I wanted, which is the Savage Strike Plesiosaur, which have hit over there. I think they have I kid you not, I think there's Toys R Us in Singapore and Malaysia still. And that's where he found the figure is, I think so. I guess I should check my facts, but I know it showed up there too. But he picked one up for me and sent it my way, which I really appreciate. And the figure itself is, it's a Plesiosaur, which is definitely one of the cooler figures Mattel has kind of released. The Battle Damage Plesiosaur has been pretty hard to find. It came out in really low quantities here in the US on Walmart.com. And I picked up the Battle Damage Plesiosaur myself from Guadalajara, so that was a harder figure to find. And this Savage Strike figure, I think it's going to be released in greater quantities, no doubt in my mind. But the Plesiosaur figure is great, and in this kind of version of it, it's Savage Strike, so no battle damage on it, and the articulation is actually a little bit more limited in some cases and expanded in others. Like the fins on the battle damage, you can rotate and move to your heart's content, whereas this one, the fins are tied to the Savage Strike action, so you can rotate them like on the kind of like rotate them on one axis, but you can't like pivot them down underneath the figure. But the Savage Strike action is actually really cool. For most figures, you have like lunging jaws and slashing hands, things like that. They're pretty basic attacks, but the Plesiosaur is really fun when you do it. It's like a button on its back, and it like alternates the way it flips its fins. So like the front fins go down and the back fins go up, and then you release it and it does it the other way. So it does a swimming motion. It's really clever. So that's what makes this figure a little bit more different than the battle damage version, as well as obviously the color scheme is different. Even the pattern on the back of the figure is different. It's a little bit more, whereas the other battle damage is like white and blue. This one's sort of more earthy tones. And it feels like, I call it the freshwater Plesiosaur. If the other Plesiosaur is the ocean water Plesiosaur, this is the freshwater. This is the one that lives in like a river in the continent, like not on the coast or something. But it's a cool figure. Plesiosaur is really nice sculpt, and I'm really hoping this Savage Strike version again is like widely available, because if we can't get our hands on a battle damaged Plesiosaur, all of you collectors out there, I'm hoping we can get our hands on this Savage Strike one, because everyone deserves a Mattel Plesiosaur.
Yeah. I haven't received mine. It's like you said, the whole thing is a mess. I was supposed to get them, I think, today, and then it said, just kidding. We at Amazon don't know what's going on once again, so you'll get it when you get it, basically. And I had to approve the delay. But yeah, I agree. I mean, every Jurassic collector needs a Plesiosaurus. I haven't seen this one in hand, obviously. You have, and you've shown some comparison photos of them. I can't help but think that the battle damage is like, gorgeous looking. It's a beautiful little toy.
Yeah.
And I don't know that I'm going to like the Savage Strike the same way, but either way, I think, just having a Plesiosaurus, if that's the only way to get one, I think, it's obviously better than not having one. The battle damage, I think, had gone on Walmart.com, hadn't it, like once, like earlier this year?
Yeah, one time. Yeah.
I missed it. And
it came and went. Our
friend Greg managed to grab a couple for me that he actually gifted to me, which is awesome. Really kind of him. But yeah, I mean, I hope that these hit pretty soon. I know that a lot of people have been waiting for Plesiosaurus, especially those of us here in the U.S. who, haven't really had an opportunity to get them. So I just hope it's not too long of a delay. Because it seems like, I don't know, Tim, I'm hesitant to say it. I have a feeling that it's going to be canceled. I hope I'm wrong. It's just like a gut feeling. I feel like it's going to be canceled.
I think Amazon has come through so much recently that I think it's gonna be shipped. I really do. Just because every other figure that I was like, ugh, they're just gonna cancel that order. They've delivered on all of them. So I think this one just is gonna take a little bit more time. But and I also kind of look at the way Savage Strike in general has been stocked in the US. Like when they release a new wave, like they're everywhere. Like every store that carries Jurassic World Savage Strike has seen all of the waves come through on the shelves. So I think the Plesiosaur is on its way. I'm staying positive. So
yes, please stay positive.
But as far as the battle damage Plesiosaur, I don't know. I think that's another topic for another show. Distribution woes, but something went wrong with battle damage distribution here in 2019 for the US. Because there's lots of new battle damage figures that we didn't see. And I think people are okay with missing out on most of them because they're repaints or repacks. But Plesiosaur is sorely missed. And I got to agree with you. I like the battle damage version more than the Savage Strike version. So it's kind of a bummer that one, it looks like it's not going to be released everywhere. But that's all speculative. I mean, we're just collectors too. So I can't say for sure that's the case.
Yeah. Here's I don't know what the plan is for battle damage, but I really like the battle damage assortment. I know some of the dinos weren't necessarily the best, like in the $10 range, but I appreciated those. The battle damage is like a classic feature that harkens back to 1993. So
yeah, and they're like great figures because they have great articulation over attack pack too. So that's like another huge plus of them.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, when you compare like Savage Strike / battle damage and then attack pack for $2 more, you get a much more articulated, somewhat larger figure in most cases. It's I think they're quite great, and in the U.S. we're not getting these newer battle damage figures, and there's quite a few that we're missing out on. So I don't know what the plan is for 2020, whether or not they're going to continue doing them, but. It's a little unfortunate that we're missing out on things like the Proto Ceratosaurus and some of the other ones that were released as a part of that wave.
Yeah, it is. But who knows? Maybe I'm putting a lot of stock in Jurassic holidays this year. Maybe they'll be everywhere. Who knows? I don't know. It just feels like Walmart has like so many battle damage figures from the very first wave, not even the second wave, that they just need to sell through or something. I don't know. Don't know what happened there, but if you're really desperate, there's always eBay, right?
Of course. All right, so around the Jurassic world, what's going on in the world of Jurassic? So recently, and this comes via Internet Movie Database, Bryce Dallas Howard and Sam Neill were being interviewed by IMDb, and both were separately asked about the possibility of Dr. Alan Grant appearing in Jurassic World 3. So first, the interviewer asked BDH what she thought about Alan Grant making a comeback, and she wasn't very, it doesn't seem like she's a great liar. So
No.
I feel like, she strongly hinted, as she did with Laura Dern earlier this year, that she would be possibly reprising her role in this franchise. And then later Sam Neill was asked the same thing, and it was kind of the same deal where, he just kind of, he tried to keep a poker face, but he too wasn't the best at doing that. So it kind of seems like, yeah, I mean, it kind of feels like they're going to be back this time.
Yeah, it's funny, like, you see actors who are so good at lying about, like, this kind of top secret stuff, I always think of Star Trek, the second J.J. Abrams movie, when everyone was asking this one actor, who I can't put my finger on right now, if he was playing Khan, and he was like, no, and everyone believed him. They're like, oh yeah, he's so convincing. He's like straight up denying it. And then the movie came out, and it ended up him being Khan, and it was kind of like it was almost like betrayal. Like, people were like, you lied so convincingly. But I love this kind of approach where they're like, I can't say anything. I can't say anything. It's like, it's kind of like a wink and a nod, and without like the Jurassic community is kind of losing their mind over it, but like, nothing's official. And I'm sure when it becomes official, which I hope it does, like, I hope this is coming true, like, we're gonna go bananas again, like absolutely bananas. Because like, me personally, Alan Grant is like, I mean, he was like my like icon when I was a kid. I mean, he's not even like he's a reluctant action hero, but as a kid, he was so cool. The toy was so cool. All of it coming together for me was so cool. And, seeing him in Jurassic Park 3 wasn't like, didn't really deliver for me anyway. But if he could like make some sort of awesome, even just an appearance in Jurassic World, the next Jurassic World, I'd be one happy fanboy.
Yeah, I feel like it. I mean, if this is truly the end of the trilogy, the end of the saga, then, I mean, they really need to, tie up all the loose ends. I mean, they could easily do without bringing those characters back. We know that they're probably still somewhere in that universe and, just not hear from them. But I don't know. I feel like we're going to get a little bit of fan service in this last, film in this trilogy. And I think that's a really good way to do it.
They're going to pull up in a Ford Explorer, all decked out with the Jurassic Park, and get out and save the day.
Yeah,
that'd be some fan service.
Yeah, it would. I feel like it's going to happen. And
there's a Dilophosaur in the back seat.
Yeah. And there was also Jurassic Unicast tweeted at Colin Trevorrow. Can't wait for the future. Exciting times lie ahead for our fandom, we hope. And they also tagged Emily Carmichael, who's co-writing Jurassic World 3 with Colin. And they also said, oh yeah, by the way, Alan Grant is our Han Solo. And then Colin Trevorrow responded, we know. So, yeah, further evidence that this might happen after all.
Yeah. Please don't make Maisie like stab him in the heart with a lightsaber or something like that. But otherwise, yeah, he is our Han Solo.
Yeah, that it's got to happen. I mean, that it would be like one of the greatest things ever. I mean, they haven't been in these films for since Jurassic Park 3. Almost it'll be like 19 years once Jurassic World 3 comes out. 20 years from 2001 to 2021. Yeah, so yeah, it would be pretty epic.
That's crazy. Gosh, that makes me feel old.
Yeah, absolutely. I was in high school when it came out.
Yeah,
and I saw it in the theater, and I never thought, 20 years from now, I'll be talking about, Jurassic Park on a podcast, because there were no podcasts back then.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, it's crazy that this is actually probably going to happen, and should it occur, then I think you're gonna have a lot of people quite happy to see it. It'll just come down to a question of how involved they are in participating in this film.
Yeah, I really hope that it's a little bit more than like an Ian Malcolm cameo in Jurassic World 2. I don't want it to be like so preposterous that it's almost unbelievable how involved they are. I'm not saying they have to replace Owen Grady and Claire Dearing, but it would be nice if they had like a little bit of more involvement than just sort of something, out of the situation, like a Senate hearing or something like that. And I think, obviously I'm a huge Alan Grant fan. Sam Neill's got to come back, but like Laura Dern is like, she's like in right now. She's got, she obviously had The Last Jedi, but like Big Little Lies, love that show.
Awesome.
And like, she's just like, she's kind of like, I'm not saying her career ever died, but like her career is like hot right now. So to me, like that's just one more reason why she needs to come back for Jurassic World 3. It's like she's on the covers of magazines. It's like it just makes sense to definitely get her in there too. So
yeah.
And who knows, like maybe, Alan Grant kind of had his revisit to the franchise in Jurassic Park 3, unfortunately, at least in my opinion. But maybe like they come back and like maybe Ellie Sattler like kicks some major ass this time, and it's not like, so much about Alan Grant, or, maybe they can change the dynamic up there a little bit just because Laura Dern has just kind of has this career that's on fire right now.
Yeah, she's definitely experiencing a renaissance, and she's in a lot of stuff, and they would be really remiss to not include her, in the film in a pretty, I feel in a pretty significant role. So, I think it's going to happen. Whether or not they'll bring back Jeff Goldblum remains to be seen. But how epic would it be if the three of them were back together?
I know. I think I just saw an interview the other day on the red carpet where somebody was asking him about it, and he was kind of, being coy about it. So, I mean, he definitely was, but he's kind of just like that in general. So he could have just been being himself. So who even knows? But it would be cool to get them all together. But I think it would be a little bit harder to like, not make super far-fetched, because there's definitely a thin line between like fan service and pandering. I definitely don't want it to be pandering. So we'll just see. But Alan Grant, man, that I'm all about that.
Yeah, I want it all. I mean, to be honest, like it's been very clear since Jurassic World and then Fallen Kingdom that they're not really letting these films take themselves too seriously, and they're not really taking the same approach that was taken with Jurassic Park, and then with the Lost World, where you have the films are rooted a little bit more in like philosophical elements and science and that sort of thing. They're a little bit lighter. It's obviously all about the action and the dinosaurs and all that. So since they're not taking them quite as seriously, it feels, and I kind of feel like they should just, go all out, make it fun, give the fans everything that they're clamoring for, bring back those core classic characters, and, just give us a fun ride that, is still going to be a satisfying ending to this trilogy and, this 6-film saga.
Yeah, I mean, I think it just makes sense. It just makes sense to bring them back, and I think it would just be appropriate. So here's hoping that is the case, and soon enough, hopefully there'll be something official, or we won't have to wait until the movie comes out to find out that they're not in it, right? So we'll see. Yeah,
and Tim, you know what I want more than anything for this film, and it might sound kind of silly, but I really want a flashback scene with Hammond and Dr. Wu and a young Rexy.
Oh yeah, we could get some like Uncanny Valley CGI Richard Attenborough, maybe kind of like General Moff Tarkin and Rogue One. Just that'd be interesting to see that.
His brother can voice him.
Yeah, and Jurassic is not a flashback movie. Jurassic Park 3 had a dream sequence, so it's not out of the question. But yeah, I mean, I think everybody loves a good park prequel kind of storyline anywhere we can get it, so that would be actually really cool.
Yeah, it would. I'm really excited, and here's hoping that it's the film that we all want it to be.
Yeah, I have a feeling we'll be talking about Jurassic World 3 more and more and more on the podcast. So fun to kick it off here with hopefully our returning characters. The next thing I wanted to cover here and around the Jurassic World was that I actually went to Jurassic World in real life a few weeks ago. I was out in LA for a friend's event, and ended up getting to go to Universal Studios. It was, I was kind of speechless with how cool the actual land was. I think, a lot of people focus on the ride. So Jurassic World, the ride, just came out, just opened this summer with a lot of build up, and people have really focused on the ride. It's kind of like a retheming of River Adventure, Jurassic Park River Adventure. But to me, when I got to the park at Universal Studios, and the part I was most excited about and had built up in my head, it had set up expectations for, was the whole area around it, like the Jurassic World kind of themed area. And when I got there, it totally delivered. If you've ever been to Universal Studios Hollywood, you have to go down all these massive escalators to get to the actual area of the park that has Jurassic World. It was a journey, but when I got there, it was so cool. It was like a beautiful sunny California day. The gates are standing outright from everything. The flames are on. The theme is playing. There's mist in the air. All these jungle noises. It's everything. And there's blues out. They have a raptor encounter with Blue, and she's out so much that you can always hear raptors in the background. It was overwhelming, and I'm not gonna go on and on and on. In the podcast, I actually shot a bunch of video, and I have a little something that I've been working on for a while, kind of like a little tour guide, a little bit of what I did there. So that goes into way more detail, but rest assured, I rode the ride a bunch of times, had a cheeseburger in the Jurassic restaurant, did a little shopping in the gift shop, which was filled with Mattel Jurassic toys. Nothing rare and criminally overpriced, but they do have a decent amount of Mattel figures there, that more than you would see in a normal store. But yeah, the ride was great. The new additions were great to the ride. The Mosasaur scene, the battle at the end, that stuff was all great. But really what blew me away was just kind of the park all around it. Again, I could go on and on, but I had a great time. And I also ran into our friend Stephen Ray Morris out there. He goes to the park every day. I think he actually lives there. But I ran into him. I got to ride the ride with him once. Got to enjoy
nice.
a drink at the Isla New Bar, which is the name of the walk-up bar in the park. So yeah, it was an incredible time. Victoria, what's your excuse? You live in California. Why aren't you there yet? It was great.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I'm glad you got to experience that and, check out the new version of the ride. But Tim, the real question is, did you go to Hogwarts and get a butterbeer?
I didn't. Oh my gosh.
No.
I'm not a huge Harry Potter fan to begin with. I read the books, but I'm not a big fan. But when I went to the park, I had a limited amount of time, and by a limited amount of time, I had about 5 or 6 hours, and I chose to spend 4 hours in the Jurassic Land. So I spent all my time there, and I rode a couple other things. I rode the backlot tour, because you got to do the backlot tour while you're there. But I didn't really look at anything else. It's a big park. It's kind of, it takes a long time to get around. So once I was in Jurassic World, I kind of just settled in there and lived in Jurassic World for the day. So nice. super exciting. And the ride was great, but definitely the experience around the ride is what kind of stuck with me.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And you're right, I need to get up there. I was just in LA this past weekend. We do an annual trip up there, and from San Diego. It's only a 2-hour drive, but we had a pretty jam-packed weekend full of things going
for
on.
Sure.
We went to John Williams at the Hollywood Bowl, which is our annual thing that we do there, and they actually did Jurassic Park, which was my first time seeing the LA Philharmonic.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and they had the choir, which was awesome, because even when they do Jurassic Park, the movie with the orchestra, we had that here in San Diego.
Yeah.
Earlier this year, back in February. They didn't have the choir, so they actually had the choir singing in the back as they do that Brachiosaurus scene. So that was really awesome. And just the way that the stage was lit and everything in those classic orange and yellow colors, and getting to hear that live obviously was awesome.
Yeah, that is really cool. And a few weekends before that, I think the weekend I was there, actually, they did the whole movie, right, with the orchestra.
Yeah,
if I remember correctly.
That's the same thing we had here in February. Yeah, they do it in different places,
But that venue there is very cool. So it just looked like a really good time. I was actually there for a bachelor party. My buddy's getting married. So I couldn't break away to go to the Hollywood Bowl to see the movie and the orchestra. But you best believe I made some time my last day there to get over to Jurassic World. Nice. Priorities, Victoria.
Priorities. All right. So the other big news that dropped just today, actually, something we've been following since Toy Fair when it was first sort of blurted out by somebody at the Mattel booth. Battle at Big Rock. We finally have confirmation of what it is and when it's coming. It's coming up this Sunday, and it's going to be airing right after Jurassic World on the FX network. So, Tim, how do you think this is going to go down at Battle at Big Rock?
I have no idea. It's all still so shrouded in mystery, which I think is what is making the whole thing kind of fun. It's like, how long is it? Who's in it? What's it about? We know at the very basis, due to toys, that Allosaurus and the Pseudoceratops were sort of like the star. But today we know that there's human actors in it, because Colin Trevorrow tweeted like who was and what actors and actresses were in it. It looks like it's a man, a woman, and a boy and a girl. And we know that it takes place at this campsite. The posters kind of got a couple little teases in there, but it's called a Jurassic World short film, so real excited. ILM was involved, so I think the production values are going to be really, really great. Looks like it's going to be right now, it looks like it's going to be playing alongside Jurassic World on FX. Mm-hmm. So whether it's going to be like in the middle or whatever, I take it they're going to tease it the entire time and then play it towards the end. But it's awesome. When's the last time we had a Jurassic short film? Never. So right. I'm 100% on board, even with all the weird kind of like rocky background story of how this was supposed to be in front of Fast and Furious and all this stuff, and then wasn't. Like, it's all very interesting, but it's finally coming out, and I hope that it kind of like it seems like it's already invigorating everybody. We're all in like high spirits in the Jurassic community, so when it hits, I think it's gonna make a big splash.
Yeah, and we've been talking about it and hypothesizing and theorizing about what it is for so long now, and now we know that it's coming. We'll see what it's all about on Sunday. And did they say it was going to be online after it airs on TV?
Yes, like immediately afterwards, which sometimes means like a couple minutes before. So, internationally, whether you have FX, whether you don't have cable, whatever, sounds like it's going to be online for us to view. So excited. Probably going to make me get down my Pseudoceratops and Allosaurus and check them out again because, it's supposed to be cool and there's supposed to be some other fun stuff in there too. So, kind of cool. I think it's going to be... we know the end of Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom, the dinosaurs kind of went into the wilderness, and I think this will maybe kind of play off that, if not kind of bridge the gap between where we were in that movie versus where we're going to end up in Jurassic World 3.
Yeah, totally. And, I actually haven't photographed those toys, so maybe this will entice me to pull them off the shelf and do something with them, but... I'm excited. I hope that it at least, there's obviously a lot of hype behind it. Hopefully it at least lives up to some of that. After all of this, I hope it's satisfactory at least. We'll see on Sunday, and I'm sure in our next episode, we'll go into it a little more in depth after we've seen it.
Yeah, really. Watch Alan Grant just show up in that. I don't think that's going to happen, but that'd be funny. But yeah, I think we'll all be tuning in Sunday, whether it's on YouTube or on TV.
Absolutely. All right, Jurassic Clash. It's been a couple episodes since we've had this segment. We know you guys like it, and we like it too. So let's talk about pitting a couple of dinosaurs against each other. So for the purposes of this segment, we're actually going to have a free-for-all with 4 different baryonyx. Or what is the plural of baryonyx? Is it
Baryoni?
Baryonyxes.
Baryonyxes? Yeah, that's a good question.
Okay. Well, or maybe it's just baryonyx. Who knows? It's like deer. It's like, okay, it's a baryonyx, or, two baryonyx is a baryonyx.
Yeah.
In any case, let's get right into the segment. So we're looking at all 4 baryonyx that have been released so far. In 2018, the first one was the Aurora baryonyx. That's the film accurate version, which was followed up by the Lava Surge baryonyx later that year. Basically, it's the same, very similar to the Aurora baryonyx without the Aurora functionality. There's also the green baryonyx from earlier this year in the Dino Rivals line. And then there's also the Baryonyx Breakout playset, which came out a month or two ago through Walmart.com. And that one is basically a repaint of the Lava Surge Baryonyx with some battle damage painted on. So we want to look at sculpt, we want to look at paint, articulation, action features, and the overall fun factor. So let's get right down to business.
All right. Yeah, we got to take some notes here and tally up our points, right? So let's go ahead and look at all 4 of them from a sculpt standpoint, because that's going to be kind of easy. That's going to be a 4-way tie, I think, because they all have the exact same sculpt. We are kind of comparing repaints here, so sculpt doesn't technically count. I don't know if there's any deviations you could count here, but they all have the same exact sculpt, which is a beautiful sculpt. I think we know some of the figures that Mattel created were created from ILM renders, and the Baryonyx shows that. It looks like it looks like a great rendition of Baryonyx. Looks film accurate. Proportions look great. The feet aren't too big. It's a great figure. Tail's nice and long. It was one of the first figures I got for Jurassic World, and the sculpt holds up even 4 figures later. It
does. I think it's a little bit skinny again, like I noted with the Triceratops earlier. It seems like when you look at that Baryonyx in the film, it looks kind of wide. And I think that the toy doesn't quite capture that, but for the most part, it does look film accurate. And just turning my head over to the shelf, it's a good looking figure, and I think that it's probably one of the better dinosaurs that we've gotten in this line. I would definitely say it's a top 10. So yeah, it has a very film accurate sculpt. Even if it's not quite as heavy as the one in the film, it still certainly is very identifiable just by looking at it as the Baryonyx from Fallen Kingdom.
Yeah, for sure. I would totally agree. It's one of my favorite kind of sculpts. We got a lot of Baryonyx, in the grand history of Jurassic collecting. We've got at least another 2 sculpts, another 3 paint jobs that were kind of, a little more cartoony take on the species. So the Jurassic World Mattel Baryonyx is just a really nice figure. No one's gonna dispute that. It's a very nicely crafted figure, just in terms of sculpt. So I think we can safely call this one a 4-way tie.
I think so.
Yeah,
I think so.
And I think while we're kind of doling out the easy points here with these ties, let's just jump into articulation. It's going to be the same across all figures. They all have the legs that move and the arms that move, so we won't have to dive into that too much here, again, because they're so similar. So I think we can go ahead and call that one a 4-way tie.
Yeah, we can.
Kind of leave it at that. So let's head over to paint. This is where things get really interesting. You kind of mentioned what was different about each figure when you started off the segment, but let's really talk about each figure's paint detail. The initial Baryonyx that released, I love the metallic paint on the nose. I think that's such a kind of high quality touch.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And they could have easily skirted around that by just painting it blue like they did the rest of the back. But instead, they did give it a little bit of metallic paint, and I think it really sets off the figure. It doesn't need it down the entire back; it just needs it there on the head, like it has it.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, just the coloration of that dinosaur, the muddy brown with the tar colored back, and then the blue along the nose. It's perfect.
Yeah, the eyes feel very alive too. They're kind of small, but they're not beady. I don't know. Some of the Mattel dinosaur figures kind of have these big yellow eyes with black stripes on them that look a little bit like friendly or a little bit cartoony. But the Baryonyx, this first version of the figure, its eyes are just like, piercing almost, like kind of like angry looking, I guess. So, but I like them. They look very real. So the detail there is really nice. The claws aren't painted on any of these figures. But the base paint for the first figure, gotta love that blue metallic paint. Moving on to the Lava Surge, I remember like really looking forward to getting this figure. It was another figure I ended up importing, even though it came out in the U.S. eventually. But I was really excited because it was like, kind of a different take on the Baryonyx. But when I opened it, I was kind of disappointed. It was very like simple the way they painted it. Like, I felt like there was a little bit more paint flecking and detail put into the Roarvor's Baryonyx, whereas the Lava Surge is a little bit more of like a simpler take on it. I do like it's got an orange snout, right? I mean, it's kind of got this vibrant snout that I like, but other than that, I was kind of underwhelmed by it.
Yeah, it's very similar to that first Baryonyx. It's missing some of the stripes on the legs.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's just like it's missing like a detail pass.
Yeah, and it does have the orange snout, and it has like embers painted on its body, which is kind of weird. It's unique because no other dinosaur in this line has embers painted on its body.
Yeah, I guess I never really thought about that. I always took them as just like flecking of coloration, but I guess it is embers on its body. So yeah, that makes it a little more unique, I guess. But like, it's also a little strange. Like, are they embedded in its skin? Are they falling off of it? Like, what's the play story here? But
right.
Yeah, I mean, I guess personally, I was really looking forward to getting my hands on that. I was a little disappointed, like with the leg paint not being like there. It's like they just like skipped that, for this particular figure.
Are the claws painted on that original one, on the toes?
Yeah, I think so, actually. Now that I think of it, I think the first Roarvor's figures had a little bit more detail. I'd have to go check. It's way behind me, but I do think that the toenails at least had a gloss finish on them or something like that.
Yeah. I'm going to look real quick because I have it here on the shelf. It's just out of sight.
Okay.
Yes, the toes are indeed black.
Yeah, see? Look at that. A little more detail.
Just a little bit. So then we also have the 2019 Roarvor's Baryonyx. This is the green one. Some of them have some yellow on the snout. Some of them don't. But for the most part, they're basically the same thing. It's a green Baryonyx, and it's got a little bit of patterning on its back and on its legs. It looks a little bit like a watermelon. So if you like watermelon, you might enjoy this Baryonyx.
I do like watermelon, and I do enjoy this Baryonyx. So both of those things are true. And this one, again, like there's promotional art for it, like the official photos where it has a very pronounced yellow snout, but the actual figure doesn't quite have that. And like you said, there's a little bit of variance here and there. But I really like the version I have, whatever it is. I just like the way that the snout really pops off the figure. I really like the paint job on this one. It reminds me of like if you're in one of those kind of like stagnant ponds and there's all that moss on the top of the surface. Like I can just see this Baryonyx like an alligator like moving its way through it. It just feels like it's ready to be camouflaged in the environment. Ready to like live in like a lush jungle and hunt. Kind of sets my imagination up for something. I that's what I like about this one is definitely like the revisited paint job, sort of like the reptilian look of it.
Yeah, totally. It has a very classic like dinosaur, classic green predatory dinosaur look to it, and I think they implemented that pretty nicely with this one. And if you find the yellow snout version, I think it adds just a little bit more dimension to that toy.
Yeah, and I don't know if you noticed, but the eyes on it are black versus like yellow painted eyes on the other ones, it makes it kind of the odd man out of all these Baryonyx.
It does.
They kind of went for I think that probably maybe set better with all the green paint, so you can see where they did that. And again, it kind of adds to the realism of the animal a little bit too. Right,
it does. And this one photographs really well, by the way. I don't know what it is about this green one, but it just looks great when I take pictures of it.
Yeah, I think it's just the paint job has kind of got a little bit of like variation in it. It's not just like, I don't know. It's like kind of almost like it was applied with an airbrush. It's just got a little bit more dimension to it.
Absolutely. So then finally we have the Baryonyx breakout version of the creature. And this is the one that comes with the really great $20 price point playset available through Walmart. It's part of the Battle Damage line. This one is very different from the other Baryonyx. I mean, it's different in the sense that the colors are radically different from the others, but at the same time, the patterns are somewhat reflective of that original release. It's just kind of like an inversion, or, the colors are changed. What would you say this color is? It's kind of like a, I don't know, like a purpley rust color.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, I thought it was going to be like red, so it's definitely very muted, sort of, like rust, like you said. But it does have the painted snout that's like very, like, contrast from the rest of the figure, which sort of lines it up with the Roarvor's version and the Lava Surge version. Like, it kind of lives in that family of Baryonyx with that bright snout.
Right.
I like to call all these battle damage figures that don't have actual battle damage, because this is released as part of the battle damage Baryonyx breakout set at Walmart. Its battle damage is a big red splotch on its neck. I might have something, does it have scratch marks somewhere else, but I call it the nail polish edition because it just looks like there's nail polish on it. So it kind of, for me, distracts from the figure, because now you just have this permanently wounded Baryonyx. But I do like the darker, kind of like you said, rust color on this guy too.
Yeah, no, I like the colors on this one. I think it's a fun one. It also photographs quite well. But what I do like about, the battle damage, as you said, it is just painted on. It's not really like sculpted on or anything. But what I do like about it is that if you don't want to see the battle damage, you just turn it the other way and it's not battle damage.
That's true. Yeah, no, that's definitely true. And I don't think it's so apparent that it like even ruins the figure from the other side. It's just kind of funny that they were like, it's got to be battle damage, so let's put some red paint on it.
Right.
But yeah, I think overall this is kind of, for seeing the figure for the fourth time, they didn't do something radically different, but they kind of returned to the Baryonyx coloration roots, and they did it with some interesting colors. Out of all these four, I mean, I know what I'm kind of feeling for the winner, and I think I'm guessing I know what your pick is, but what do you think?
Well, in terms of the paint, I gotta hand it to the original release.
Oh, really? Okay. All right. I was going to go with the new release, but, I really like, I definitely appreciate the original release, but, it's movie accurate, and it definitely gets points for that. But something about the new one just feels a little bit more natural to me, and it feels like there's more effort involved, I guess. And I really like those black eyes, but how are we going to tally this? Because since we don't agree, we're not really pitted up against each other. So
yeah, well, we still have the fun factor to consider.
That's right. That's right. So we'll give a point to the original and the re-release of the Roarvors for you and I, respectively.
Okay. We're experimenting here, folks. We usually just pit one against another, but we're doing, four-way with these Baryonyxes.
There's four Baryonyx. They have to all fight. That's how it is. We can't leave them out.
Yeah.
So let's head over to action features, which I think we can define as like, it's very specific. We're not like talking about something broad. We're talking about like, what features does this figure have? Which all four of them have the biting motion, right? But they're not all exactly equal otherwise, right?
Right, because two of them have been gutted of the Roarvor functionalities. So they basically just open their mouths and close it, which is cool. But you do lose a little bit of something when you have that same figure that does that and roars. So
yeah, no, I totally get it. Yeah.
So we know two of these are proper Roarvors, and I think that's a better action feature than just opening your mouth.
Right. And is it wrong that like the ones with the electronics have a little bit more weight because they have batteries? Other figures feel a little bit lighter, a little bit cheaper too. I don't know. I definitely is like kind of feels that way for me. So this is hard because we're gonna have like we're gonna have a tie again with for the two Roarvors, because they have that roar right there that kind of sets them apart. Question, I don't know if there's any way to like figure this out real quick, but are the roars exactly the same for both releases?
I'm pretty sure they are.
Pretty sure they are. Okay. So I know maybe there was like another figure that I thought people were saying they fixed it, like it didn't roar like a T-Rex. I don't know if that's true. But, the Baryonyx, yeah, I mean, the roars were always cool. They sound great. They sound like they're from the movie. But 2 figures have them, 2 figures don't. So I think in this case, it's sort of, a two-way tie between both roarivores.
Okay.
So what's it going to come down to, folks? Fun factor, which a little harder to define, right? But
yeah,
I think we can try.
Yeah, I think we could try. I think we have to consider the other qualities that we've already discussed. The sculpt, the paint, the action features, and articulation. So there's not really a whole lot we can say for articulation because it's the same. Basically, it's going to come down to the other traits that these dinosaurs have. So what's more fun? I mean, it's hard to define that, but for me personally, I still got to go back to that original. And the reason for that is, to me, part of the fun factor is how close it is to what I see in the film. And even as a kid, that was always something that was really important to me. Even though the Red Rex maybe looks a little more interesting than Rexy in Jurassic Park, even when I got that on Christmas Day at age 8, I felt like I would have liked it a little bit better if it was accurate to the way that she looked in Jurassic Park. Yeah. So for me, I'm going to have to say that overall, including the fun factor, me personally, I'd have to give it to that original Baryonyx.
Yeah. I'm just got to speculate here, throw kind of a wrench in our process, but, these figures were released with other accessories too. Not that I think that should like play into the fun factor necessarily, but we do have the Lava Surge Baryonyx that came with like an incredible playset, and the only playset we got from Mattel, but it's actually really cool, really simple. It's like a little bunker with a ladder, and there's a hatch from the movie that Justice Smith and BDH escaped from. And it's got this slime that's very like Ghostbusters. So it's very, very, very cool kit. Again, we're pitting the figures against each other, but I gotta mention, they're not technically equals if you're just counting them strictly from a release standpoint.
That's a good point.
That comes with a great playset. And then again, the Baryonyx Breakout set that came out, pretty recently, is a great value for $20. I mean, you get a figure that's like a $10 or $15 figure. Then you also get a motorcycle. You get a human figure, Owen. You get Dimorphodon, Compsognathus, Flare, a little computer, a gun, a motorcycle helmet, some body armor. Like, you get a bunch of stuff.
Yes.
And you get a bunch of stuff to play with, like, as a kid. Again, like, if you're saying, if we're kind of bringing our nostalgia into it, like, that's pretty cool that you get all this stuff in this set and you kind of have, like, a little Jurassic story ready to go just with what's in one box.
Right. What was the retail on the slime set?
I don't remember what it was.
30.
I want to say it was 30. Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, I think it was 30, and that feels a little bit about right. Again, the Baryonyx Breakout set feels like a steal at 20 for me. It's just you're getting a lot of toys for not that much. So
no, that's
I don't know. Do we want to kind of bring that in, or does that just complicate things more?
It complicates
it brings
things,
our figures.
But
yes,
I think it's a good complication because it's a totally valid suggestion. We need to give due credit to the sets in which these figures are a part. So I'm gonna restate my thoughts. So on their own, if we were just evaluating the figures, I would say the original Roarivore is film accurate Baryonyx. But if you're going to consider the play sets, I do agree that the Baryonyx Breakout set at $20 is an awesome value. But I feel like at $30, which is I'm pretty sure what it retailed for, the Lava Surge play set, that's one of my favorite things that Mattel has done so far. I just think in terms of playability, you really can't top that. It's a lot of fun. It's very messy, but it's a lot of fun. And here's my compromise with that. The Baryonyx that comes in that set is supposed to represent a moment from the film. It's not quite as accurate as the Roarivore's Baryonyx, but it is still meant to be that same Baryonyx. And you still have a similar paint scheme. It's not exactly the same as we noted, but it does have the lava on its nose. It has the embers, and it still represents that same baryonyx. So that being said, considering all of the factors that we've discussed here and the play sets and, the respective packages that, these figures are a part of, I would have to hand it to the Lava Surge playset baryonyx.
Yeah, I definitely would too. I mean, I won't repeat what you just said because I 100% agree with it. It's the playset was just one of the coolest things they did, and I think that kind of like makes it an easy win for me. So I'm definitely going to give it to the Lava Surge baryonyx for fun factor as well.
Nice.
And I think that this makes our whole point tally system, very hard to kind of figure out. Basically, we've got a 4-way tie for sculpt, 4-way tie for articulation. Neither of us could agree on one for the paint. We have the first version and the second version of the Roarvors and a 2-way tie there. And then what should have been a tiebreaker for... we did action features too, and that was another 2-way tie. Mm-hmm. And then what should have been the tiebreaker for fun factor, we have a surprise upset. The Lava Surge baryonyx wins that one. So kind of hard to do the math here and figure out if there's one true winner.
Yeah, that is tough, but we can just say, hey, the Lava Surge playset is the reigning baryonyx in this battle royale of the baryonyxes.
Right. And of course, it's the rarest figure and hardest to track down naturally. But I mean, it's just a cool set. It's super, super unique. And like you said, it's really recreating a moment from the film, which I think, as a kid, it was something that would have really appealed to me too.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, Jurassic Clash is a lot of fun. We're always kind of experimenting with how we're doing this sort of, the battle itself, but always tons of fun to do, and it's nice to kind of just compare some contemporary figures and not against vintage. So baryonyx was a great kind of testing bed for that.
Absolutely. So certainly let us know, you guys, what you want us to pit against Dinosaur against Dinosaur. Let us know wherever you follow us on social media, whether it's through email. Yeah. We want to know what should be the next Jurassic Clash. Let us know. I'm Victoria.
And I'm Tim, and we hope you'll check us out online. Obviously, you can find Collect Jurassic at collectjurassic.com. Also on social media, which is Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, all at /Collect Jurassic. You can also get in touch with us directly with our email at collectjurassic@gmail.com.
And you can find me online by visiting the Victoria's Cantina YouTube channel. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram at Victoria's Cantina and on Twitter at Vic's Cantina. If you're listening through Apple Podcasts, please be sure to leave us a review and give us a rating. You'll help other Jurassic fans and collectors be able to discover the show for themselves.
So thank you for visiting. We hope you've enjoyed your visit to the park.
Please make your way towards the main gate. We hope you'll book a return visit for another adventure into Collect Jurassic World.